Franchise Envy, welcome. I'm your host, Lance Graulich, and this is my first solo episode for Franchise Envy.
Up next,
I'm going to actually give you some of my observations and tips in what I've learned so far from this series that I know will be invaluable to you. Controversial subject. Can you do a business as a side hustle? I actually prefer, if you can, to call the most successful franchisees. Now, Franchise Envy is all about happy, successful franchise owners and how they did it. I started the series earlier this year in 2025 so I could spotlight or showcase how other people have done it. I've realized over the years, not only myself being a franchise owner, but being a franchise broker, I've helped thousands of people get into franchise ownership over the last 20 years or so. So I've learned that people really want to hear exactly how other people have done it. That's what this show is dedicated to. So today, with this solo episode, I'm going to actually give you some of my observations and tips in what I've learned so far from this series that I know will be invaluable to you. In franchising, everybody starts with the same dream. You want more money, you want more free time to spend with family, hobbies, more vacations. You maybe even want to coach Susie's soccer game or go to Johnny's recital, whatever it might be. You're tired of missing out on family life. So really, you want to control your future. You want to control your time, you want to control your money, and basically you just want to build a better life. That is what franchise ownership is all about, and a franchise is certainly the best step for you in a first business. First discussion point for today, let's talk about passion. I've heard it from people all the time. Lance, do I have to be passionate about a specific business in order to be successful in it? Absolutely not. Passion, just because you love kids or like working with kids, and maybe you were a teacher, does not mean that you have to work at a school or work in a tutoring business or own a tutoring business. None of that matters, because remember, those skills that give you that feeling, that passion, so to speak, of working with kids, what is it about that? You're empathetic, you like working with kids, you like seeing the smiles on their faces. That could be translated into a kid-related business. It could be a business with seniors. It could also be a business with pets or just helping people in general. So I like to look at your skills, look at your budget, look at your desires, goals, and objectives. If you have a spouse, would love to talk with your spouse as well. So passion is not important when picking a business. One of my favorite stories, you might have heard, is a friend of mine was bald and didn't know how to cut hair. And guess what his first business was? Yep, a franchise hair salon. Yes, and he actually hated the idea originally. Well, why wouldn't he hate the idea? He had zero passion for the business, but then he started realizing, well, I can get an SBA loan for $200,000, put down 20%, and if it works, which of course it would, and it did, he ended up having 19 Great Clips hair salons. It was incredibly successful, and now it has moved on to the next generation, the family, so to speak. So what we've learned from Franchise Envy thus far, there have been plenty of people that had zero passion for the business they were going to get into, but there was something that excited them. Maybe it was the lifestyle it gave them. Maybe it was the fact that they believe that they can do it. And we're going to talk more about things like validation in a little bit, because really that's what this whole Franchise Envy series sounds like. It sounds like a validation call, which for those that don't know, a validation call in franchising is the process that every great franchisor puts you through as a prospect to have the opportunity to speak to existing, happy, successful franchisees in the business. So you can ask questions like, how did you do it? Are you successful? Are you happy? Would you do it over again? How much money do you make? What'd you do before? How many hours a week do you do this? What was the hardest part? Do you have any regrets? All good questions. So passion is not important when selecting a franchise. It's all about your budget. How much cash do you have? What are your financial goals and expectations? Your objectives? What kind of income are you looking to make? How much time do you have to dedicate? Are you going to be full-time in the business? Or is it going to be a side hustle? Yes, you can actually do that. A controversial subject. Can you do a business as a side hustle? Absolutely, if it's the right business for you. It's all about that franchise fit. So, a couple of tips relating to passion and how it is not relevant in the selection process. All right, so the second topic for today. Following the system. We have learned and we have heard from multiple successful, happy franchise owners that following the system, as obvious as it may seem, is really the number one key to success with a franchise. Why would you get into a franchise and decide to tell the franchisor that everything they're doing is wrong? There is a process to selection. You pick the franchise, and if this wasn't the right one for you, you're not going to get them to change everything, nor would you want to, because what you're suggesting, they haven't done. So how do you know it's going to work? It's like getting married and telling your spouse, you know, I'd like your blonde hair to be, I don't know, red, and I'd like you to gain 10 pounds, and I'd like you to start doing aerobics. No, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to change everything overnight. It's the same thing with a franchise. You get into a system, you follow the system, and you perfect the system. When you become the number one franchise owner, yes, at that point, it's a good idea to suggest maybe some new things. For myself, I was a Wingstop franchisee. I was a top franchisee. I was president of the Franchise Advisory Council. I was very careful to prove myself first before I decided to spout off and give suggestions, which I did. And we added menu items. We changed things up. At McDonald's, it was a franchisee that created the filet of fish, suggested that on Fridays, where they were in the Midwest, that fish would be great on the menu. And it was so successful that it ended up being an everyday staple on McDonald's menus across the country. So just an idea, collaboration is a big key to franchise success, but not when you're brand new. Show me the money. Third topic that we've been hearing a lot of when we're talking about numbers with these successful, happy franchisees. We're talking item 19. In the franchise disclosure document, there is something called the item 19. There's actually 23 items in the franchise disclosure document. Item 19 is the earnings claim. Brands are not required to put anything in this section, but smart franchisees are going to put something in there, because if there's nothing, when you're looking at it, you're going to question it and you're going to wonder, what are they hiding? Why is there no data? So showing sales figures is typically what you're going to see. It's hard to show a full P&L and break down all these different franchisees, but the numbers don't typically lie. However, most of my clientele is super excited when they see big numbers. And they say, Lance, I would love to join that franchise because I see the average franchisee is doing $7.8 million, and it's only a $325,000 investment. Well, guess what? That was citywide Facility Solutions numbers. And the reality is you have to have sales experience to even be invited to be a franchise owner of that brand. Remember what I said earlier about skills, not about passion. You have to have skills. And your skills need to align with the particular brand in order for you to be successful. The reality is citywide, you need to have sales skills. So the reality is Citywide has amazing numbers, but it's not going to be a brand for everybody based on skills. Numbers are not everything. I tell my clients all the time, when I joined Wingstop, the average unit volume that was in the franchise disclosure document in the item 19, 600,000 average unit volume of a Wingstop. Cost of goods, food cost specifically, was really high, way above 36% at the time. So I went in anyway, and I knew the new ownership group was going to address these issues and these things were going to be better. Well, what are the advantages of getting in early and under those circumstances? Others were passing on the brand, and I knew they were on the upswing before most people. So I was right, and others missed out on the opportunity. So just something to keep in mind, that while numbers do not lie, there might be more to the story within the numbers. And that's why you also use me, a franchise consultant, to help you with this process. Now, the fourth and my favorite topic, what you hear on Franchise Envy all the time, is essentially a testimonial. Franchisee testimonials, franchisee validation is crucial for all of my clients as they go through the process. I want you to be able to picture yourself as a franchise owner. When you join a franchise, like joining a fraternity or a sorority, it's a culture fit. And there's a reason you rush a fraternity or a sorority. You get to experience what it's like. You're not in yet, but you get to see and hang out with the people that are in that brand. That's essentially what validation is. A lot of franchise brands will give you a whole list of franchisees and say, call whoever you want. I actually prefer, if you can, to call the most successful franchisees and hear what their experience is. The most successful franchise owners know why people are not successful. And surprise, or is it no surprise, that not everybody is going to be a successful franchise owner. And the reality is, not everybody's a great employee either. There are people that work harder than others. Do you have to be a genius to be a successful business owner? Absolutely not. Hard work and being a good boss, being a good leader, and following the system, all of those items go a long way. All those attributes go a long way towards your success. So every great franchise brand has a franchise validation process where you will have an opportunity to speak to existing franchisees, just like the ones you hear on the Franchise Envy show. You'll have an opportunity to speak to great franchisees. A lot of times, when I was a Wingstop franchisee and a Krispy Kreme donut franchisee, that validation process, there are times you're going to speak to somebody that's not a good franchisee. And the reality is, I have people that say to me, well, Lance, I want to speak to the bad or the unhappy franchisees and find out why. And I said, no, please don't waste your time doing that. That's like saying, I want to be an amazing free throw shooter, so I'm going to find the worst person on my high school basketball team and ask them how to do it. No. You want to go call Steph Curry, one of the best free throw shooters ever, and you want to get tips from him if possible. And he will know why people are bad shooters, right? Is that fair to say? Trust me, that's going to be the case. So don't overlook validation. Franchise validation, talking to 5 different franchise owners in different parts of the country, and don't call people in your neighborhood. That usually causes a fight. People get very territorial. So fun tip, don't call people in your area. Just call different franchisees in different parts of the country and try to call great, high-performing, super successful franchisees. And what you're listening for is, can I do what they did? Things like, how much money did you make in the first year? Or how much money did you make at the end of the second year? I know a young couple in their second year with a home care franchise did $3 million and their net was over $550. Well, there's a lot of people that don't have a goal that's that aggressive. Well, great. You hear that they made $550 at the end of second year. You're like, well, cool. I only want to make $200 at the end of second year, so that's cool. So those were just 4 fun topics as a result from all of the first episodes of Franchise Envy. If you have not watched the series, please do. Now, if you want to work with me and you're looking to get your first business, a franchise is going to be your best choice. I am going to help you through the entire process. A franchise consultant is your advocate. I work for you for free. I actually get paid by the brands. Yes, free resource, free advocate. I'm on your side, and we'll have a chance to talk as often as you would like. And I'm going to present brands to you that fit you based on your goals and objectives, based on your budget, based on your skills and lifestyle, and all of that. So I'm happy to help you, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.